Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, buddy. And you haven't even heard the best part. Ooh. Welcome back to another episode of Strictly.
Football.
Man,
Oh,
that's
my man's
great.
going crazy
You
over
seen
there,
this?
dude.
Come
I,
on,
th- I
man. I've
think we
been
all got to invest in one of those then.
just soundboard off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we got to clip this intro, dude. This is gonna be the trademark intro now.
This is gonna be our bread and butter. The default music on the
The baby
soundboard.
alien.
Default way with the baby alien voice in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, man, welcome back. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? I think can we all agree that we had a great weekend? I think we were all in the same place.
Oh yeah, we were.
Uh,
We were at the La Onda Fest in Napa.
Mm-hmm.
in
Napa
Napa,
Valley.
it's like we
Hey.
got to see.
Hey, did my guys not give the best show of the weekend? Or what's going on with
Dude,
that?
They
come
might
on.
have. They might
They
have.
might.
I know they
It's
did.
up there. It's up there. Top
Yeah, I
top
got.
three for me, I think. Top three for me.
I'll send you guys my little clip of the mosh pit we were in, man. That was crazy.
Yeah,
I loved it.
people that don't know is we were it's Maldita Vecindad, a rock band from Mexico.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, even though I was in the back. I thought they did really good.
Yeah. They definitely
man.
hyped up the crowd.
Yeah,
And then sorry, just a little off top. What my mom was saying, because my mom had seen them before, a really long time ago, probably like 20 years back, and she was like, you know what, the guy, he's always had that same vibe. Like he never changed. Like it's like
He
he's
hasn't
just
changed.
he's aging, but like the concert, it still goes the same way. Like the energy is just there. It doesn't like it never slows down, dude. So I was like, you know what, you're probably right because it was fun. But anyways, let's get in it. Apart from that, there's a lot of football. There's a lot of football that happened. A lot of football that's coming up. It's an exciting summer. International soccer to the max. Transfers. Is there anything else that I've been missing that's going on?
See,
But
nah.
we'll get to that with Irving recapping that for us. But to begin with, as per usual, our tarjeta roja segment of the week of the weeks. What did you guys hear? Is there anything that stands out? Who deserves to get a tarjeta roja in this week's episode? So I'll open up the floor for you guys. You guys can take a stab at it.
All right. I have two actually. One,
Okay.
I'm not even gonna say anything. I'm gonna just say who it's going to, and I'm not gonna say anything after. So my first tarjeta roja is going to Mexico. That's all I gotta say. Mexico in general, the coach, the players, the federation, everything, all the media that hypes up this Mexico team still and is on board with it. What's happening right now? But anyways, that's all I'm gonna say. Second one, because we're gonna get into it in a little bit. Second one is going to Gareth Southgate. Uh, Ariel sent, or no. My brother sent us like who got dropped from the Euro team, and sadly, my boy Jared Branthwaite got dropped. Arguably one of the best defenders for England, and they chose to keep Lewis Dunk, which I think is a bold choice in my opinion, a bold choice. But and I think a lot of the comments that I saw on that Twitter post was just people like, trashing Southgate, like, man, like he never knows who to call up, like he picks favorites, like they should have kept Jared Branthwaite, like they should have kept this player, like. But yeah, I just think, and maybe it's just my bias talking, but I just think Jared Branthwaite getting dropped was not called for. I think he was probably one of the best defenders this Premier League season. So, but hey, he's at least he left out Harry Maguire, which is I think is a good plus for them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, let them know how you feel. It's one Everton player not getting called, man.
Is he
It's
the
the end
only?
of the
He's the
world.
only one. No, Jordan Pickford, right?
Jordan
Pickford.
Pickford, man,
Yeah,
starting
And that's
goalie.
it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, man. How about you, Ariel? Who do you got?
I have to give it to my team. I gotta give it to Arsenal, dude. I
Oh, okay, okay.
The transfer market's open. There, I'm just not seeing the movement that I want to see right now. We're going after a nobody striker. 50 million. He's a dude from the Bundesliga. Sesko, I think his name is. Uh, that doesn't look like it's gonna happen, but that's who they're chasing. And this other guy named Zerky, I'm sure that you've seen his
Oh,
FIFA card.
yeah.
That guy. I mean, he's apparently being sought after, but AC Milan's about to beat them to it. So Arsenal's just, I don't know. Dude, they just move too slow, man. We just move too slow. We need a killer, and you'd think that first day you'd go out there and get it done before the Euros, and nada. So my tarjeta roja of the week goes to Arsenal.
That ship's probably gonna stay dry for a few more months too. They
Yeah,
can just
because
get,
they're not going to get it done in time.
he's gonna get the scraps of what nobody else could sign.
Yeah, pretty much. That's usually I think what ends up happening for them, anyways. So yeah,
Hey, fair to Arsenal. But if I could stick within the signing world, I think if I could give a tarjeta roja this week, I would give it to Joan Laporta, dude.
yeah.
Um, because after it was announced that Madrid has signed Mbappe, I think he came out and he just said, "Oh, it's cool that they're signing him, but for us, we prefer trusting our players in La Masia." And although that's a fair point, I don't think they've produced a lot of like big talent in recent years. Sure, maybe we can say Gavi and Pedri may be the standouts.
Kurasi,
Yeah, Kurasi who's gonna probably be the
Fermin,
starter. Who?
Fermin,
I
Yamal.
mean, Lamine Yamal. But I think the reality that
That's
what he was
half the
trying to
team,
say.
dog.
Well, I mean, no,
Literally.
but
Literally.
the reality what he was trying to say, or what everybody. I mean, I know the point he was trying to make, but everybody read between the lines, and it was like, "Yo, dog, you just don't have money to sign players."
Yeah, that's really what's at the core of this.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just don't have the money, and it's like on top of that, like he was asking Lewandowski. I think they're asking Lewandowski to take a pay cut because he's a 36-year-old making 32 million a year at Barcelona, and that's part of the reason why they can't sign players. And then like they just like went on him like, and I think obviously Chiringuito's a little biased, but like they went on the list of all the failed players they have signed
Uh-huh.
and all the money they have spent, and it's like I think out of the top 10 in La Liga, I think they own like 6 or 7 spots of the most expensive players they bought. And the reality is like some of those are not even there anymore, and they didn't live up to the hype. So sure, you can trust you can go to your core and say you trust La Masia, but I think in deep down, I think you've failed signings and not having enough money now. Puts you in my tarjeta roja book.
We always love a good Barcelona referenced red card here.
Yeah.
We're all Madridista fans, so we're all Madrid fans. So we need to get like we need to get like a Barca fan. I know Sam's a Barca fan, but you know, we,
E.
we need another one too.
Yeah, man, we need somebody to put us in our place because until then, we're gonna keep going off on these, man.
Yeah, they're just gonna keep getting tarjeta rojas of the week.
Yeah.
uh, anyways, boys, those were the tarjeta rojas this week. Let's move it along. I think we have a great episode. Um, so to begin with, and as per last week, and we're doing it again this week, Irving's gonna provide us with the recap of the week or the weeks, and just let us know what's been happening in the world of football.
Yeah, and if I left anything out, make sure to let us know in the comments. Hey, we got a comment in the last live, bro. We moving up. We moving up. So yeah, so recap of the week. So there's big news in the MLS right now, especially for the expansion team, San Diego FC. They signed their first marquee player. Is that what they call it? Designated player, right? That's what they call it. And their first designated player is Chucky Lozano. I saw that he's getting paid 12 million a year, something like that. Which is crazy amount of money, but I mean, I guess you could see why he's doing it for the money and being comfortable. And I mean, you're living in San Diego, so yeah. And then finally, I feel like we've talked about it for months on this podcast. Mbappe to Madrid is official. It's happening. Mbappe posted a really cool post, in my opinion, and Cristiano Ronaldo commented on it, and it became the most liked comment in Instagram, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's official. He's part of Madrid now. Madrid's posting him all over socials about his, international friendlies that he's playing right now with France. And yeah, and it's gonna be a fun team to watch. Madrid's gonna be such a fun team to watch, and I think their expectations are really high now to win everything essentially because the team they have is crazy. So yeah. Secondly, other news here in the CONCACAF, Pachuca was crowned champions of the CONCACAF. They demolished essentially Columbus Crew 3-0. Yeah, Pachuca has played great essentially all season. They played great in this tournament, not so great in Liga MX. And hey, Pachuca, I think had it almost in the bag when they eliminated America in the semifinals. Um, so yeah, and lastly, we talked about it last week where there was going to be a vote for VAR to be removed from the Prem. Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. The majority voted for VAR to stay in the Prem. So yeah, sorry Wolves fans if there's any out there, but yeah, it's not getting removed.
19-1 vote.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, who
literally.
who was the one? Do we know?
Wolves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Wolves.
They're the ones that put up the claim. So yeah, so VAR staying, and hey, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. We'll see.
Yeah.
That's our recap of the week.
I mean, a couple of comments. Ariel, want to comment on any of these major news?
Yeah, I think the one that stands out to me is, I mean, obviously Mbappe going to Real Madrid, it's dope. I mean, we've all knew this was gonna happen, but I'll stray away and I'll go with the Columbus Crew and Pachuca game. It's unfortunate because it tells us a little bit about. While I am a firm believer that the MLS will catch up and will surpass Liga MX, this is just an example of the MLS's best team still coming up short to uh not one of the best. I mean, it's not that he's not one of the best teams. I'm sure that Pachuca is really good. I don't really keep up with them, so I can't really talk too much about it in regards to the way that they are. But it's an unfortunate because on paper it seems like a certain way, but I think I think in the background, and I don't want to sound too conspiracy theory ish, but many of the Columbus Crew players got sick before this game. Uh, and so they weren't at 100%, and that one can blame the staff, the team, but I would argue that Columbus Crew wasn't at their best. So I don't think this is a real representation of where it's at, but I think it does also give you a good representation of of where the leagues are really. So, um, yeah, that is my thought.
And I'd still with Pachuca winning out of the last 20, because these finals have always been like either Mexico and Mexico, MLS versus Mexico. Out of the last 20 seasons, there's still only
Don't say it.
one
Don't
Mexican
say it.
team
Don't say
to
it.
have
Don't
lose
say it.
against an MLS team,
Don't say it.
and it remains that weak team of Pumas, who's the only team that was defeated. But at the same time, it's also crazy because it's like, yeah, but it's like it was interesting though because it's like if America would have beaten Pachuca, the game was going to be played in Vegas,
Yeah,
whether Monterrey or Columbus Crew passed on the other leg. But because America didn't lose and CONCACAF didn't feel like they were going to make money off of it, they said, you know what? Well, let's just take it to Pachuca. And it kind of messed. I feel like it did mess up like Columbus Crew preparation towards the game. And on top of that, like they went in like I think Pachuca is like 4,000 feet above sea level, so the altitude was screwing them over. So I think that was a little interesting politics that CONCACAF plays depending on who makes the finals.
mm,
Um, but it's just the way it works here, you know. Uh, but I guess in staying in with the MLS, I think the Chucky Lozano, I think he gave out an interview a couple of months ago and said that he wasn't going to come to the MLS, that it was not his time yet, and that he was still going to stay in Europe and fight for a spot. And hell, he was actually doing pretty good at PSV. He won the championship last season. So I think to me, like him, like coming to the MLS at 28, it's a bit shocking compared to what he had said throughout the season. But when you put it to me, or when Irving put it to me, that he's getting paid 12 million a year to live in San Diego, Like yeah, you can't pass on that. And but it's again it's a problem that we may see. And there's like now a list going on now of all Mexican players who have just kind of chosen money over competition. And I think Chucky Lozano is just another one that adds to the list. Personally, I see it, I get it. It's the money. Professionally, competitive, I think he's choosing the easier path. So I'm a little iffy on it on what side I can support more, but it's what it is. So we'll be seeing him here, and it will attract more people to come and watch the MLS.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I mean, that's what you want, though, right? I think like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's what you want.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like it. I think Ochoa is next too. So Ochoa should be coming to San Diego next, and that even adds more to what we expect to see this season and moving forward.
Hmm.
Um, but anyways, we can move it along. Let's move it along to our headline of the week. Um, and I think we all may have seen the game yesterday, but in case some people didn't see it, Mexico played against Uruguay, and the final score was Uruguay 4, Mexico 0.
You don't got to
Embarrassing
put the
game.
score up there, man. You don't get. It's okay.
um, it's an embarrassing game if you're asking me, guys. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. Like part of me wants to believe, like just the part of me wants to believe that Jimmy Lozano thought he was gonna come to the US to play another Copa Oro, dude. Like the way he played this game, like I think he's preparing for like Copa Oro and like to play Martinique and to play like Trinidad y Tobago in this tournament. Because that's what it felt like to me yesterday when I saw the lineup that he put out. Um, But I'm gonna open the floor to you guys because I actually want to hear what you guys have to say about it before I give my final reactions to that and see and see how you guys are feeling about what you guys saw yesterday. So give it away, guys.
All right. Um, well, I feel like there's been a lot of talk in the media right now, especially in sports, in Mexican sports right now, especially after what happened yesterday. And I mean, there's so much to dissect in just this one game. One, I'm gonna give credit where credit's due to Uruguay. I mean, they look great. I mean, you could tell like la diferencia in football between Mexico and Uruguay. Like I'm sure Marcelo Bielsa has a lot to do with it. And that's just Uruguay without arguably their two best players in Valverde and Araujo. You know, if imagine you have those guys playing at least for a half, they probably would have scored six in the first half or something crazy like that. Um, so yeah, so I mean, all props where it's due. Uruguay looked great. You know, it still looks like that team that beat Argentina um, just a couple months back. For Mexico, I do think that the decision to play your B team essentially that you took to against this Uruguay team is just shocking to me. I think where Jimmy Lozano went wrong is that he treated the Bolivia preparation game and he gave a chance to the U23 team to play, and he's now giving a chance to his B team to play against arguably one of the best teams in CONMEBOL, and it's just something that can't happen, right? Like, I think I don't know, I don't know how Jimmy Lozano doesn't realize, but there's no, they don't play eliminatorias this year. There's not a lot of games where you have to prepare yourself for the World Cup. The World Cup is literally in your country and in your backyard. Um, so these games, like you got to take them seriously, man. Like I've been seeing a lot of people talk about it, and I agree. You gotta throw your best team out there. Play Santi Jimenez, play Edson Alvarez, play Johan Vasquez and Cesar Montes, play Malagon, who is supposed to be the substitute for Ochoa. Like play your best players, man. And you're essentially playing a top tier tournament. You know, you Mexico plays Copa Oro year in and year out. They win year in and year out because the competition is poor. If we're being honest, there's only two big teams other than Mexico right now, and it's USA and Canada. And yeah, I just think it's very shocking that Jimmy Lozano plays a lineup like that against a team like this. And now reports are coming out of the team that Brazil is going to put out on Saturday. And man, the whooping they're about to get, the way they just played yesterday, man, it's gonna be something to watch. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm on the side where I want Mexico to lose and I want this to happen and I want them to get embarrassed and stuff because then it opens more eyes. But then essentially, like this has been going on for a couple years now and nothing's changed. So I don't know. I don't know.
I think this is. I mean, a part of me, I think I agree with you too, Irving, is that I think does Mexico really need to go and just get their asses kicked to just like open the eyes and open up the cans of worms of Mexican football? Or like do we just like preserve it and like not get our asses kicked and still kind of live on with this lie? And I think I think Mexico's in an interesting place where I think Jimmy Lozano, while we can criticize him, and I don't want to be too hard on Jimmy Lozano because I've been one to say on at least on this podcast to say I want Jimmy Lozano to try something different. And he did do something different. And everybody's beating his ass about it. I understand that like your best team, blah 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 blah. You've put out your best team before and they've gotten their asses kicked too. So let's not act like by having fucking Malagon was there, we're gonna have Iker Casillas back there. Let's quit acting like having Johan Vasquez back there is having Puyol back there. Let's quit lying to ourselves. At least this is what I respect about that decision about Jimmy Lozano, and I may be in the minority of this. And I know the Mexican media, at least from what I'm seeing, at least on some Mexican outlets, is that they're like, "Oh, why don't we play our best team?" Blah 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 blah. What I respect about this decision is that you at least give those young people, you have those young people that you played, you have them with you now because you now have this experience together as a coach, as a team. And even if he doesn't continue, you at least are giving these young people the experience of playing a super high level team. And even though you got your ass kicked, you at least see what the real opponent is in this world. So Loco Bielsa's on a different level as regard as a coach. That's my favorite coach. So that's my guy. And it's unfortunate because I know that Jose, you've been talking about, oh, man, Loco Bielsa could have been with Mexico. Um, but in reality, I think this is really what gives us a real idea of where we're at. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have given the reins to this man, not to say you're gonna win the World Cup with Loco Bielsa, but he has an idea. So now you're going with Jimmy Lozano that doesn't have as much experience, but you're trying to trust the process. But that means that you're gonna get your ass kicked by trusting the process. So I don't know. Those are my initial thoughts. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk specifically about the game, but my initial thoughts is that Jimmy Lozano is at least giving these young players a chance. And even if they get their asses kicked, there is still some merit and there is still some learning that can happen of that. It's a friendly, it doesn't count for much. And isn't this what we said we wanted? We wanted him to give young players a chance. And here it is.
Yeah.
Now you know that fucking Rangel's not your goalie. There's no Pumas fans. Is it what it is? What is he? A Pumas
No, he's
goalie?
a Chivas goalie.
Chivas goalie. There's no Chivas fans now saying, "Oh, I want Rangel out here." There's no way that we could say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way. And now we know that Arteaga is not that guy on the left.
Yeah.
So we need to figure that out. So you know what I'm saying? Like he got exposed. The man's lazy. The man doesn't do shit going forward or backwards. So there's no excuse. You at least get that clear picture because I think with one of the things that happens with Mexico fans is, oh, you're not playing the player for my team. Oh, es que ese es de Chivas. Oh, ese es de America. That's why they don't play him because he blah 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 blah. He just gave you all these options of different players, and they're just not up for the cut of a real opponent. Those are my initial thoughts.
And the thing with the opening the eyes is like I feel like the eyes are already open. It's just too late in the process. It's too late to change the course of something that just didn't happen yesterday, but it's been going on for years now. And it's like you're right. Like there's some player. Like you're right. Like in the last episode when we talked about like what do we expect from Mexico, and I said I just want to see them, have a different mentality. Like score goals. Like give me something that I haven't seen before. And he went yesterday, and he did. He did. He put in players. Like I know. Like and I'm just gonna like piggyback on like the Chivas players, right? For example, like the Chivas fans wanted these players to play. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah, let them play. Like let's see what, because it's like if you think about it, like the two defenses that he put yesterday, just to name a few, like two people. It was a guy from Chivas, and I believe the other guy, Victor Guzman from Pachuca. Like you need backups because you only have two good center backs, quote unquote, which is Johan Vasquez and Cesar Montes. You don't have a solid player behind those two. We thought we had one to replace Gallardo. Arteaga wasn't it.
Yeah.
We have 3, 4 laterales that have been coming off. And yesterday he tried another guy, El Guamirucito, and he still wasn't it. So he hasn't found a position like in his, just starting with the defense. He hasn't found his defenders on left back and right back.
Yeah.
And this might be the tournament, and he's probably still not going to find him because I think Arteaga proved that he may not be it. You might have to
He's
look
not it.
elsewhere. Yeah,
He's not it.
you might have to look elsewhere because Gallardo is a solid option, but he's aging, and he might not get you to the next level. But you may not have a choice now but to go back to Gallardo, even though this for Copa America you decided not to call him up. Um,
Good.
and as like like Edson Alvarez was the only kind of like titular that played, but even him, like you can tell, like he had never played with these players before, and it's like now it's like I feel like now taking it game by game, every game's going to be an experiment, and as with many experiments, like experiments sometimes fail. Yesterday it failed. On Saturday when they play Brazil, if they lose, we can talk about failing it again. If and it's like if they do a bad Copa America, it's going to continue to be a failure. But it's like even if all it fails, and ultimately, like what, Jimmy Lozano, thank you. We got to let you go. The next guy that they bring up, it's not going to change how the federation runs the team. It's not going to change the background and the history that this team has of like just bad managing. Like ultimately, I think it leads up to that. Like, why didn't we see Santi Jimenez play? Even though that's your best forward, and then you have people like some televisoras that run the team talking mad shit about him, like he shouldn't be playing, or like he's in Europe but he doesn't score goals, and it's like it's just I feel like it's getting to the point where like I'm more so believing that the people that run the federation benefit more of seeing this team fail time after time because that generates more rating and that just generates more topics of discussions. And it's like, and it's including us. Like, I think if since we've been talking about La Selección, I don't think we've talked about like a Selección actually playing a good game for once. Ever since like we've covered this podcast and stuff. So it's like it's getting to that point where it's like the eyes are open to me, like they've always been open. I can see, I feel like there's a lot of like, even if you're not a if you don't really root for Mexico, if you see from the outside, like you can see what's going on, but ultimately it's not going to change anything, because we might just like live off the failure. It's easier to say that we failed than to say, oh well, at least we tried. And I think that that's the direction that they're leading, and they don't have many opportunities to try to change the course between now and Copa America and what's to follow after that.
No, the only way that this is going to change, that this ship is going to change, is what I saw a little bit of yesterday, where the fans are continuously turning on them. Once the
That's
fans continue turning on them and they stop buying these tickets, because even you, my friend, as much as you just said, you bought that ticket to go see this poor Mexico team play against, what was it, Qatar?
mm-hmm.
Um, so there is still this aspect, and this is the thing about Mexico fans, right? Because I saw them yesterday at the game, like there is still this belief, and I don't know if it's just because folks are just separated from home and they're just like, I just want to feel like my home team's coming back again, and that's why they play here. But there's an aspect here that I think Mexico is going through like an identity crisis in regards to where are our fans? Where are the people that are gonna like, because if this would have happened in Mexico yesterday, oh man, I don't even know what would have happened. You know what I'm saying? Like the turning on them would have even been worse. People
Yeah.
paid here $55 for the cheapest ticket to go see that game. At one point, Mexico fans, I hope, get to the point where they say, I'm not going to buy a ticket anymore. And that to me is going to be the big change for the Federation in regards to opening their eyes. So obviously,
Yeah.
that's a longer term game, but like, Mexico is going down this path where like, yeah, they need to figure out like Jimmy Lozano needs to figure out his team, and I hope that they give him time. And two, like Mexico fans need to also do something different other than yelling out the slur or the thing and stopping the game, because it's just becoming embarrassing at this point of just like you're just being known as the fans that are just yelling out that chant, and your team's also not winning, and you're getting your ass kicked,
Yeah.
and you think you're bigger than everybody else when you're not.
Yeah.
And
I think it's like it's sad to say, but it's a good thing I think right now that yesterday, the fans were like they were essentially booing. They literally, I think, booed every player that came on and was playing except Santi Jimenez, which is crazy. But he is Mexico's best player, and they were even like chanting like "Ole" when Uruguay was just dogging on these players, this Mexico team. But I think you're right, Ariel. I think that is an eye opener. I think that the federation will hopefully look at that and be like, all right, what do we have to do differently? And again, I think we have to realize that essentially at this point this process is going to be a long one. Essentially, if you look at a team like USA didn't make a World Cup, and look
Yep.
at where they're at now. They're down. They're essentially they're the best team in CONCACAF. They're I feel like they might not cruise, but they're gonna have a better time than Mexico. That's for sure in the Copa America, and that's all because there was a process, And an interview just came out with Bruce Arena, which honestly is something. If you watch the whole thing, but yeah, he talks about how not making. He was part of the team that didn't make the World Cup, but one of the good things he did is he gave a chance to a bunch of the young guys. He gave a chance. He stopped calling up all the old heads, and he gave a chance to the younger players. And look at how much it has paid off for the USA now. They're ready to take that next step, I think, and I think that's something that Mexico has to learn from. Maybe Jimmy Lozano is not the guy you're gonna want in the future, but he's someone that is in a process right now, and you just have to write it out. You have to trust the process. He he did something good right now, and giving a chance to the younger players, calling up a whole different team without all the old heads because they're getting old or all the players that shouldn't be called up. So you just have to trust it. This is essentially what Mexico wanted. They had Coca for what, like 3 games. They did not like him. They gave Jimmy Lozano a chance as the interim coach. He won you La Copa Oro. Mexico fans are excited for winning a tournament that essentially doesn't matter. And they made Jimmy Lozano the head coach. And now that things are not going their way and now that things are failing, they want to switch up on Jimmy Lozano. So I think that's where I think we have to realize like, hey, it's a long process, and Mexico may not be good in a couple years, and they may go out there and embarrass themselves in Copa America. I hope not, um, but that's the reality of things, and that's where Mexico stands right now.
I don't know. I mean, at least within the next few games, the turning around from the fans isn't really happening. I think they're expecting like 60,000 fans at the against the Brazil game, and it's like every other game that they're playing in the group stage is like a sellout. So
I
the
mean,
fans won't turn.
doesn't mean they can't boo
No,
him.
no, no. I mean, doesn't mean they can't move. Like the fans, at least leading up, and that's the thing. Like when these games were announced earlier in the year, they're gonna play Uruguay, they're gonna play Brazil ahead of the tournament. like everybody was excited. He's like, yo, like we're finally gonna like meet up against a team like that's gonna give us a run for their money. And it was like, well, they did, but they also kind of like showed them out that they're not at their level. So it could be the turning point. It might be a long term process. I think the only downside about that is that you have a World Cup in your home country in less than 3 years, 2 years, give or yeah, 2 years actually. And it might not be enough to turn the ship around from here to there, and from here to there, like I feel like they might not do enough because they know that regardless of how they do, regardless of how they run the team, regardless of the coaches or the players at the end, like they're still going to profit money between now and then because the biggest tournament in soccer, in international soccer, is going to be played in home soil. So we might have to wait after that to see the change that we think we can see from this team. But
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's also like in it. Well, this is my final thought. I think on this because as I'm hearing you guys talk, like there is, I think, a part of this lands on Concacaf, in my opinion, because we are hosting the World Cup, but your teams are getting annihilated. Other than the U.S. And the U.S. hasn't played yet. I think they play on Saturday,
Mhm.
but Canada just got destroyed. Mexico just got destroyed. Mexico will probably lose again to Brazil again. I don't want to think that. I don't know if Brazil's going to destroy them. I personally think that Uruguay is a better team right now than Brazil, and this is Uruguay's B team. But in the regards to the way they play, so I don't know. Mexico might surprise us, but like there is an aspect here that I want to say that the CONCACAF is really failing these teams in regards to how they're allowing these teams to kind of run and the type of competitions that they're in and the type of funding that ends up giving to these teams because there should be no reason why the host countries are doing this poorly in these games. And yes, they're friendlies, but this is all they have to prepare. And
Mhm.
they're not looking good. You're gonna be hosting a World Cup and it's you're not showing that out of these three places can be some place where football is played well and they can compete and they can hang. Um, and I think for the rest of the world, the CONCACAF will just continue just being a joke, which is unfortunate because this is where we're at. And what does that say about our football and what does that say about just about what we think about football? So I don't know. Those kind of my last thoughts, and I don't know. Maybe I just like blaming CONCACAF, but a part of me just really, I think I really feel like the CONCACAF as a region and the people like in charge have done a really poor job, and it's kind of culminating right now with one of the bigger teams in CONCACAF in Mexico destroying itself because of the lack of infrastructure. And sure, we can blame corruption on Mexico's side, but there should be an overseeing entity, which is the CONCACAF, to be able to regulate that, and they haven't done so.
right, right. I mean, couldn't have said it. You put a bigger perspective, man. That it's true.
Mm.
Um, and but for now, let's leave this sad topic aside. Let's move on to our game of the week. Irving has uh, a recurring game. I don't
Game
I don't
segment.
think
Games.
I don't game segment, intro segment, same song. But we love it. But I don't think I feel like it's been a while since we played this game. So I'm gonna lend it off to Irving. Give us the game, man. That's
All right. We got a start bench or sell today. Oh, straight away. I forgot to put and that's okay.
You
I
just
forgot
you
to
just
put
looking
like
at
a
me now.
I'm just kidding. I forgot to put intro sell.
I can
Anyways,
put it on here or no?
I mean if you want to, yeah.
No, you tell
It,
me.
it's we have a start bench or sell. Pretty simple. I'm sure everybody's seen it. Um we've been talking a lot about CONCACAF, so this is a CONCACAF edition. And I hope I got the comparisons and the talks right. Because again, some of these players are from your guys' generation
Man,
now.
that's crazy.
uh, yeah, so pretty simple. We know how to play. Most people have seen it. If not, you just got three players. You choose whether you start, bench, or sell 'em. Easy as that. So in our
Yeah.
first slide, for those listening, we got Carlos Salcido, Minor Figueroa, and Alexi Lalas. All defenders. Who are you starting? Who are you benching? And who are you selling?
I'm starting Carlos Salcedo, benching Alexi Lalas, and selling Figueroa.
Oof.
Yeah. Hey, people. I know Alexi says some crazy stuff right now.
Yeah.
As a podcast host, but
He is a great defender.
hey, he was a good
From what
defender,
I
man. It's my guy,
from what I know.
and I want to say he played for AC Milan as well. So, hey, bless his soul. He did his thing back in the day.
Let me fact check you.
I mean, for me, it'd be the same thing. I'll start Salcido, bench Alexis Lalas, and Minor Figueroa can be sold.
He did not play for AC Milan.
I
Sorry.
thought he
He
did.
played for Padova,
Padova, my
whatever
bad.
Italian.
There you go. There you go. He played
Uh,
against AC Milan
yeah.
because he played in
Close enough.
close
Close
enough.
enough.
Close
Damn,
enough.
the disrespect to Minor Figueroa, man. Wigan Athletic legend right there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for me too. Anyways, moving on. Oh, sorry. All right. We got Brian Ruiz, Andres Guardado, and Carlos Reina.
Claudio.
Claudio
Claudio
Reina.
Reina, sorry.
Ay, mijo.
Sorry, yeah.
Man,
Don't age me.
Hey, this was
Uh,
tough. This one's
who are you
actually like a
starting?
tough one.
Who are you selling it? Who are you benching?
I've always been a fan of Brian Ruiz. So I'm starting Brian Ruiz. I think his play is one of the class play right there. Um, guess I'd have to bench Guardado and sell Claudio Reina because I don't. I think his tenure with the U.S. national team wasn't. I didn't think he'll live up, and it was shortly taken over by Donovan. So it's my
Yeah,
opinion.
I gotta disagree. Claudio Reina was one of my favorite players growing up, so I'm starting Claudio Reina, benching Guardado, and selling Brian Ruiz. I always thought Brian Ruiz was like, how's this guy?
Wow.
How is he so like? Why do people like think he's hella good? I'm like, I don't know. I thought he was.
He is hella good.
I didn't. Obviously, when I'm younger, right? Like when I'm younger, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what people see in him, but that's just kind of where I'm at. I
Hey,
think,
he captained Costa Rica's best ever team to
sure.
almost a semifinal. Almost a
Sure,
semifinal.
I'm sure Keylor Navas had a big part in that, and you can ask Keylor Navas about that, about that run and what he did for that team. Because
I'll hit him up.
yeah,
Yeah. For me, I think I'd start Andres Guardado and I'd bench Brian Ruiz and sell Claudio Reina. Sorry, Aria.
it's okay.
But yeah, that's for me. Next one. We got a couple goalies here. Now I could have
Oof.
included Keylor Navas, but I think that would have been such a big landslide compared to these three. No offense to these three legends. But we got Memo Ochoa, Tim Howard, and Jorge Campos. Who are you starting? Who are you selling? And who are you benching?
Ooh, this one's tough too.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It is tough.
I'm starting El Pato, Quack Quack. Starting him, benching Ochoa, and selling Jorge Campos.
Wow.
I look, dude. I'm gonna
Wow.
continue getting hate on this. I think Campos is like one. I love his style and I love his like eccentricity. I'll say that, and I'll say that from the jump. To say that this man at five, well, how tall was he? Like 5'6", 5'7"?
Probably, I think
I
so.
don't know. I mean, he had hops. I can't deny he had hops. He definitely had hops. But to say that, that this guy's gonna beat Tim Howard or Memo Ochoa, nah, no way, dude. Memo Ochoa is a way better goalie than him, at least in my opinion. And Pato's better than Memo, so I'm going in that direction.
I would start Ochoa. I think Ochoa is better than Howard. Um, I would bench Howard and I sell Campos. I think Campos is just he's an icon and started a trend, but overall, I think actually he was just in a show earlier today, and they were making fun of him because all he really has is one title to his name as a professional player. Even though he was this iconic figure, I think that's just what it was. He just came at a time where like I think Mexico was lacking goalies. But yeah, I don't. I think he's overhyped.
You
That's
you
just
hating
my
on you hating on a paisano, bro? That's
his
crazy.
his tortas are good, but
Huh?
What?
he, he, he has a torta stand at a in a back at home, but yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, you got to sell them.
Well, I think from what you, I mean, I think he is the perfect hero card. I feel like that's why he has a hero card in FIFA because I think he's literally
A,
the
a
perfect hero
hero to what though? Like he's
to
played with so many
Mexico.
teams.
To
Though. Like what are we?
Mexico. I mean, they put him in the MLS because he was one of the first couple Mexican players that went over to the MLS. But they just can't put him as a Liga MX like hero because they don't got the licenses, or else they probably would.
Right.
Um, so for me, I think I'd actually start Tim Howard. I think Tim Howard is the best goalie out of these three, just because and that's not Everton bias, but he was a goalkeeper for a team in the Premier League and arguably one of the best goalkeepers during that time. He's even he just got inducted into a Hall of Fame, football Hall of Fame, not too long ago actually. I saw a video on it. Anyways, and I mean I want to say bench Jorge Campos is really bad, but that's just that's just like Pumas bias talking. And I mean, imagine like this man was a striker and a goalie at the same time. So pretty, he transcended the sport. I think he's definitely a hero. But I think I'd sell him and I'd bench Ochoa. As great as Ochoa is.
You gave him all his flowers just to sell his ass.
Yeah. So
I mean, if you take a look at their careers and Ochoa as has over 1,000 goals scored on, but he still did it in Europe. So and he showed up in the World Cups. He showed up in the World Cups. So all right, last one. We got another three right here. Uh, we got Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan, and Cuauhtemoc Blanco. Who are you
ooh.
starting? Who are you selling? Who are you benching?
Easy, man. You start Gual, you bench Donovan, you sell Dempsey.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be biased here because Deuce was one of my favorite players as well. So I'm gonna go with Clint Dempsey starting here. Bench Guau and sell Donovan.
That's so
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, I
That's
think
so crazy.
I- you
That's a
know
lot of bias right there.
it's a lot. It's a lot of bias, but you know what? It's just I think Clint Dempsey's tenure in Europe. I think I would say he's a trailblazer in regards to being successful in Europe. I mean,
Yeah.
at Tottenham, he did really good,
Yeah.
and he had a really good career. Whether we understand that or not, like I thought he showed up in the World Cup, against England. He scored that goal. I thought he was a baller. He had his tricks, like one of the first like Americans that did his like. He was in that Ronaldinho era, and he was doing his little tricks. He's doing his little moves. He's a little bit more flashy, a little bit more tricky, and he's also got that dog in him. He's not ready to back down. So, and I think Guau was in the same vein, but Guau was also, Guau was different in regards to him. Just he was just kind of cool in Mexico, really,
Hey,
and
I
that's about
agree.
it. And
I
that's
agree.
about it, And Donovan, I think similarly, he was kind of only cool here. While I love Donovan, I love all three of these players. Clint Dempsey's the only one that was able to be successful somewhere else.
Hey, don't disrespect the Everton legend, man. Yeah, I think for me, I think I'd start Landon Donovan. Bench. This is a hard one because, to be honest, I think Guaga was a little overrated in terms of his career, and
What?
yeah, he's a little overrated in terms of his career. I mean, he's a great. I mean, arguably one of raw talent, one of Mexico's best. But in terms of his career and what he's done in his career, I think it's a little overrated. I mean, he could even tell you himself, man. I mean, what did he go do in Europe? He just went and sit on a bench for 2 years and then came back, just like that. And I think compared to Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan, I think they had a better success in their career. I think if we want to talk about career, now we take in their talent, then yeah, I could argue Qual was up there, but I think I'd put Landon Donovan, bench, Clint Dempsey, and so Qual. That's crazy. See, but this is a good one. This is a good one. It's a good talk, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna
Crickets.
leave. We're gonna leave that
Crickets.
stuff. We're
Crickets.
gonna leave that silent there, dude. Jeez.
I'm about to get flack if we make a run.
I mean, yeah. I mean, just to defend my boy, he didn't just go to Europe to sit on the bench. He actually
Yes, he did.
suffered a really bad injury.
Mm,
There you go.
right.
Like, I mean, if you're injured, you can't really
Uh-oh.
play. But we still have that
hey,
goal
he talks about it. He talks about it. He says
that
that
goal.
the coach didn't like him, and he was just sitting on the bench with four other Mexican players in that Valladolid team, and he just never got playing time.
That golazo he scored on Casillas at the Bernabeu, dude. Nobody forgets about that, dude. Like, beautiful free kick. Um,
All right, let's move on.
All right, all right.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay. We don't forget about it. Right.
Yeah,
All
don't
right,
forget about it,
all right. We'll move on to our final segment. We'll move on to our debate, our discussion of the week. We're gonna focus for this week. We're gonna focus on one player. And I think we talked about it at the start of the episode. Chucky Lozano's move to San Diego FC as a designated player. So our question for the week, and I think a question that we came up with in our notes, is: has Chucky Lozano disappointed? And I guess maybe that's broad. So if I could kind of like narrow it, or like if we can speak on different areas, like has he disappointed as a player? Has he disappointed as a selección, like in the selección? Like where would you guys classify him? I think there is like I don't think people would put him in like Mexico's top 5. But to you guys, like where do you guys see Chucky Lozano? Has he had a great career? Has he not? What are your thoughts on this guy?
To me, I think I want to focus on his career and as a player, because to be honest, in La Selección, to me, he just hasn't lived up to that hype. Although he did score one of Mexico's most iconic goals against Germany in the 2018 World Cup, I'd just rather focus on his career right now as a player, or that's what I want to focus on. And I don't think he was a disappointment. I don't think he let people down or whatever you want to call it. I think if we take a look at the just speaking about Cuauhtémoc Blanco, if we take a look at the players that go to Europe, especially Mexican players from CONCACAF, they usually don't have a lot of success in Europe. A lot of Mexican players, especially in recent times, they've been coming back. Look at Diego Lainez, look at Marcelo Flores, Jordan Carrillo, uh, who's Arteaga. It's just the ones on the top of my head. They want to bring back Jorge Sanchez last season. I mean, you just don't see a successful career from a Mexican player in Europe anymore. I mean, ever essentially. I mean, the players I can think of is like Rafa Marquez, Hugo Sanchez, Guardado, Santi Jimenez is so far having a great career in Europe. So I think Chucky Lozano, for what it was, he was great in PSV when he first got there. He won titles with them. when he moved to Napoli, I think it was a great move. He went to a pretty big team in Italy, and sadly, the last couple times he was in Napoli, he just wasn't. I think he just didn't get enough playing time. He also wasn't as good as maybe he once was. And although it's crazy to say that because he's only 28 years old, um, yeah. And now he was at PSV for what, 2 seasons, a season, and now he's in San Diego FC. I mean, I think if we take a look at Mexican players and their success in Europe, I think he hasn't been a disappointment. I think done great for himself. Now he's about to cash out, live the good life in San Diego, and you know that's that. I mean, he's apparently not getting called up to La Selección anymore, especially because a report came out saying that he was like people didn't like him in the locker room, and he was like a mess, and he was a bad apple. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was a disappointment as a career, as a Mexican player, as a CONCACAF player. Definitely not a disappointment to me. I think one of the more semi-successful stories for a Mexican player in Europe. And he left at a young age. He was supposed to be one of Mexico's like next big things, right? He had a promising future when he left Pachuca. So
So I'll say this: the way you're talking about him, you're making it sound like he's a disappointment because you said he was supposed to be one of
well,
Mexico's greatest things, and I think that that is going to be the argument about Chucky Lozano in regards to him being a disappointment because he was supposed to be that, and that's what he's
true,
become. Which
true.
is so even the way you're talking about him, and I think that that's the way we're going to continue talking about him is he was supposed to be the greatest player, blah 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 blah, that Mexico's ever seen. He was on that trajectory. You love to see him do so well in Netherlands. You'd love to see him do, and he struggled in Italy. And this is what I'll give Chucky some credit is that he struggled, especially when Gattuso was there
Yeah.
in Napoli. So he struggled there and he fought through and he ended up winning first Mexican to win the Serie A, right? If I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. So
That's right.
he has that accolade. But for him at 28 years old to peak, already peaked, and then to come, not to say that he's gonna. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like the MLS is a step down, but similar to Carlos Vela and when we talked about him last time, where we were like he's gonna go down as nothing because making this turn at this age, when in theory, even Slatan said it, when I'm in my prime, where am I at?
Yeah.
Where is he? Where are they at in their prime? So to me, that is going to be the disappointment about Chucky Lozano. And I would say that he's a disappointment because he se infló tanto el globo because he became the first Serie A. He was doing so good in PSV. He had an iconic goal for Mexico. And for us to see this downfall be so quickly in a matter of 2, 3 years, and I would maybe even longer, a little bit, maybe even 4 or 5 years. When was the last time we actually saw something good for him from the selección? And even when he was at Napoli, like he started, but it's not like he was doing some crazy ass stuff. I mean, he was part of that historic Napoli team, but come on, let's not act like the man hasn't been on a downhill trajectory. So, and he's been kind of inflando the Mexican fan base about what he's actually going to be doing. So to me, I if I was a Mexico fan, even more so. I mean, I consider myself a Mexico fan, but maybe because I'm not Mexican, it's not hitting me the same. But yeah, there is a sense of a disappointment for him from him, and he's not going to go down in top five. And even the way you
Nah.
started it,
Nah.
he was supposed to be that.
Check yourself.
No, I mean, just to say, like, so he was supposed to be like, I won't like back down. I'll say, like, he was supposed to be the next big thing. Like, he was hyped up as it, but although that title and that expectation was so high, and to be honest, he didn't meet it. I still think his career in Europe for a CONCACAF player and for a Mexican player is still good enough to say you're not a disappointment. You didn't disappoint. Now, is he cashing out early? All that, then sure. I mean, he is, and he's getting paid big bucks now in San Diego. But I still think that as a player and as a career, it's not a disappointment, especially considering the recent moves with certain players and that came back to Mexico and that's sadly either have or haven't found success here and can't catch a stride or can't catch a form. I don't think it's a disappointment. I think he did great. I think he did all right. He's not top five. He's not top 10, probably top 20, if that. Uh, but I don't think it's a big disappointment.
So
I don't
how
think
is
it's
he
big.
not a disappointment when he was supposed to be on trajectory to be in the top? Fine, I won't even give you top 5 because I don't even think he breaks into that. But
Nah.
top 10, he's on trajectory to be the top 10, and for him to not meet that, how is that not disappointing? I don't understand that. I don't understand how one can be like it would be saying like Michael Jordan is supposed to be top 10, but he doesn't end up getting there. How is that not disappointing? I don't
Well,
understand. I don't
I
understand
mean,
that part.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like if we take a look at the Mexico players that travel to Europe and go there and try and succeed in Europe, they just don't find that success anymore. They don't have, whether it's the drive, whether the coaches don't like them, whatever it may be, they just don't have that success anymore like Chucky Lozano has. He's been the last, arguably, Mexican player that's found some success in recent times, apart from Santi Jimenez, right? I think before that, you had players like H who played in Europe, players like Andres Guardado who were in Europe. If you take a look at the 2014 Mexico team, there's a lot of players that played in Europe still.
But I would
Um,
argue that Ache and Guardado didn't disappoint, and they didn't win a Serie A title. They didn't win all those things. So what's the difference between them and Chucky Lozano? Is the fact that Chucky Lozano was supposed to be better than them.
yeah, yeah. Then again, like I said, I still don't think it's a disappointment because of how things have shaped out recently between Mexico players and traveling to Europe.
Sure, sure. I mean, sure. What are you gonna say,
Because
Jose?
if
Because I feel like I'm
Yeah,
getting I'm
yeah,
getting I'm getting
we're
heated up.
yeah,
I'm getting
we're
No, no,
heated
no,
up
yeah.
no.
over here, dog.
I know, and here's, I guess I've said this in this podcast before, and I've said I walk on that, and I will stand on that cliff by myself if I have to be the only one. But I've always said, Chucky Lozano vive de un gol contra Alemania, because after that he thought he was like he could have been the next big thing, and he had the talent, and ever since 2018 it has not been what I thought was going to happen with Chucky Lozano. And the thing with you, Irving, like, and you're mentioning these players that have come back, Arteaga, Lainez, and you can name a big list. None of those players have the talent that Chucky has. And if they came back at a young age, you can see their play, and you can see why they didn't make it, or why didn't have that mentality to stay abroad. And to me, I think Chucky did have that. And sure, you might not play for a top 5 team or a top 5 league, but you still had enough potential to stick around and still chase titles in Europe. Like, we always talk about Europe being kind of like the landscape where you should be. Like, and Chucky was there. He just doesn't. I don't think he has that strong mentality to want to be there. So it's like, I do think it's disappointing to see him come back at such a young age, when I personally feel like he can still give more, and he can move forward to still prove why he should be considered a top player from Mexico that immigrated to Europe. That's and I feel like, and I'm gonna see that, and it's like, now that he's back, it's like, yo, like, you're not gonna go back to Europe. Like, I can see the sense of like him choosing comfort, and he's basically set now for the rest of his life, and that's what you have to do. But I think even before the move, like, that move was gonna happen regardless. Somebody was gonna pay him. I don't think it had to be now. I think it could have still waited. Like, he could have still waited a few more years, came back, and they were probably gonna still pay him the same amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like, it's just that I feel like it's the mentality that I think maybe it might just be Mexican players, like, that they go, or like the way they grow up, and they see that, maybe at the end it's better to take the money than to compete. And it's like, in a sense, I can't blame him. Maybe if we were in that position, maybe we would choose to do the same thing instead of fight for my spot. Like, his Napoli run, like, yeah, he struggled, but even then, like, he would still find ways to make it to the starting lineup. He'll still be contributing, providing assists to Osimhen. Like, he'll still be playing over who was the guy that was playing right wing with him?
Politano.
Politano, like they would still put him over Politano, knowing that Politano is Italian. He knows the country, he knows the language, and the coach would still like Sampaoli sometimes would still favor him. Like there is potential, and it's like you always like these. We might going forward, it might be landing into these stories of the players that could have been, or like what they could have done, and whether or not they could have done more. But yeah, if you're asking me, it's disappointing, and I think he decided to come back maybe 2 years earlier than he should have.
But he knows because he's on the decline. He couldn't make it happen. Even though he won this title with PSV, he didn't really play. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't actually play a big role in this title reign. So his stock is going down fast.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, even though in 2 years that 12 million that we're talking about, that's not going to be 12 million. That might be looking like something else because you've been on the decline. So, on a money standpoint and business standpoint, I think it makes sense. I think like as just a fan, yeah, I think it's a little disappointing that he's coming back so early and that his decline is happening so fast.
Yeah. Mm.
I mean,
mean-
would we expect anything less from him about his decline? Because I mean, up until now, and I think maybe Santi's gonna change that. He still has the highest record transfer for a Mexican player
Mm-hmm.
at
Santi's
50.
gonna
I
beat
think
that.
like at 55.
Once he goes to Arsenal, he's gonna beat that.
Yeah, right. Apparently, Tottenham wants Santi, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well, that'd be a good move for him. He won't win anything, but that'd be a good move for him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
Um,
think
Chucky.
I like that move.
Chucky. Yeah, no, it's just I think if it would have been up to me and I could have controlled Chucky's life and his destiny, if you're asking me if that's the question that you're asking me, what the prime scenario would have been for him would have been for him to go to PSV, have a killer season, and then have another transfer somewhere else, and have next 2 years you do cool like in the English Premier League or you do somewhere else like you do cool. But the fact that he came back to the Netherlands and he didn't do well, I think that I think has stopped the tracks and just like
Mhm.
reflection of like I might not get another big payday.
but I mean, at the same time, and maybe now that you're bringing that up, and about the decline, I think personally, it just makes me appreciate Andres Guardado a whole lot more
Yeah.
because he chose the opposite. Like Mans was still like he wasn't getting the payday. I don't think he was making this crazy amount of money as he
Mm-mm.
was like renewing his contract at Real Betis.
Yeah.
But like it's just like that's just the mentality that he had. He's like, yo, like I could still compete at this level. I can still. I mean, he ended up. I mean, that
He's
also too. I
loved
think.
he's loved that Betis, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that he was a captain with Joaquin. Like,
That's
dude, like,
crazy.
but it's like again, it goes to the mentality that the player has. Like to him in his mind, he still believed he was there, and I think he was. Like, there's great games that he played. Like, and like we're not saying that Real Betis is like this big team, even though they are playing pretty good and they're gonna play Europe. But like, yo, like that's like maybe we should see a lot more, or we should feel like we could see a lot more players that had that mentality of a Guardado, where it was like, yo, like we can still do it, and it's like maybe money isn't the biggest thing because I think Guardado came back, and even then, like Guardado came back, he didn't come back to the MLS, he came back to Leon, and they still gave him the bag.
Yeah.
Not because of like his talent or maybe because of a little bit of his talent, but like because of the name. Like he's a household name. And I feel like Chucky would probably have been the same thing. He would have been a household name enough to maybe not get 12 million, but get some millions. But
I mean, he
it's,
chose he really honestly chose the Carlos Vela
yeah.
route.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's the thing. And it's like he has he isn't the first player to do it, and he won't be the last player to do it.
Yeah. The players
So
with like the highest potential, but
yeah,
never really actually
pan out.
mounting. Hmm.
So he has examples, and he's just another one to the statistic. But then when we think how Mexican soccer is, we can look back, and there's plenty of examples of why we are where we are.
Yeah. But it's a good episode. Let's start closing it out, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, let's start wrapping it up. Next time we see each other, the Euros are going to be going on, so we're going to have some interesting. Well, the Euros will be on. I think Copa America would probably have already started by then, so we'll
Hmm.
have some good international soccer to talk about.
Mhm.
Until then, follow us on our social medias: Instagram, TikTok. I mean, our Twitter isn't as the best, but we're there. Twitch, we do go on. I guess are we live streaming
Every
today's friendly? If anybody wants to see us play, we're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. Um, Anything else you guys want to add? Any comments?
Not just thank you to everybody who's been following, who's been subscribing, who's been liking and commenting and sharing. We have hit 100 followers on TikTok. Let's go. We're there.
We
You know,
finally made it, boys. The 100 Club. Let's go.
yeah. We finally have 3 digits in our following, and we hit 260 followers today on Instagram. So we're moving up a little bit. I've been looking at some statistics, and our last 4 live streams have gone over 20 views. So we're doing good for ourselves. Thank you to everybody listening. Thank you to everybody who's been just doing their thing and interacting with us, and keep the conversation going on TikTok. And we love to hear you guys' opinions as much as we go in and have our own opinions as well. It's all good. It's all football, and that's what we're here for, to talk about
Yeah,
football.
yeah. Thank you, Froggy Ho. It says round of applause for us and our
Hey,
achievements. Thank you for listening,
appreciate it, man.
we appreciate everybody that listens to us, and make sure that you leave us you subscribe to our channel first, and then you leave us a rating. That really helps us out, and yeah, we really appreciate the feedback that we've been getting. So
Yeah,
We enjoy the growth, and we really like doing this. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it, and I think we appreciate the the feedback and the interaction that we get. Um,
of course.
yeah, and
so
we'll
until
probably be going live soon right now with FIFA, right?
that's
I
right.
I would think so. If we're gonna live stream the
You want to
massacre
continue
that's
the
about to
party,
happen.
then we're gonna be
What's
playing
that?
FIFA soon.
Yeah. Until then, boys, I'll catch you guys. We'll stay in touch. And yeah, see you guys on the next one.